here I am playing the funny dwarf game, when suddenly the ULTRAKILL devs all the way over in Finland, therefore in a fake-ass time zone, updates a new weapon into their game along with cybergrind enhancements at 8 o'clock in the morning, which is 1 AM my time, and I was like, yes! My terrible sleep schedule is coming in handy! Now I get to spend the whole night analyzing this thing and writing the script for the video to do the voiceover for when the morning comes and everyone wakes up, so it doesn't sound like I dragged someone in my recording studio and beat the shit out of them at 4 AM. Because I released a full weapon guide on every weapon in the game about a month ago, and now I have to re-upload the entire thing again just to add one little segment about this thing. And I'm like, nah, let's make it its own thing because everyone's asking for it. At 12,500 credits, the Sharpshooter revolver is what happens when the Piercer and the Marksman revolver has a kid, but the mother took every substance imaginable, legal or not, while it was in the womb, and then at a young age the kid made friends with the saw gun, having a big influence on him. So now you have a revolver that charges up to use its power, rewards you for precision, and bounces off of walls. The alt-fire of the gun spins it up, and letting go fires off a shot that deflects off of surfaces. Sort of like the coin, but instead of homing into the enemy's cranium, it's slightly physics-based, so it bounces off in the direction of the area hit relative to the angle of the wall, ceiling, or floor. Meaning that you have more control over it, so if you fire it directly at a flat surface, it bounces back to you, whereas if you aim slightly left or right, it'll bounce that way. Now you don't have to worry about playing P-2, tossing a coin, lining up the perfect, most precise shot in history, just for it to bounce into an idled enemy and do absolutely nothing. The standard Sharpshooter revolver has 3 charges and they take about 7 seconds to recharge, but if you're down on multiple charges, then the recharging, charge is saved. So for example, if you fire your last one and you had one halfway, you should almost have another shot ready when the firing animation is done. And you could actually fast fire it by left-clicking during the spin-up animation, though of course that uses all 3 charges really fast. The alternate, or slab sharpshooter, only has 1 charge and takes about 8 seconds to recharge, but it's much more powerful. The amount of times it bounces is based off of how much you spin it, so if you do it fast, it only bounces off once. But if you fully charge it to the point where the spinning sound is really high-pitched, like this, then it bounces off 3 times, regardless of what version of the pistol you're using. You'd think the slab would have more, but it doesn't, meaning you really gotta make that one shot count, and you're more rewarded if you do. The easiest way to use the bounce shot in a practical situation is to fire it near the enemy's feet, so it would bounce right back up at them. And this isn't a set-in-stone fact, but I think it slightly homes in on their weak point, because almost every time I hit a bounce shot while I was experimenting with this thing, it was a headshot, even if I didn't aim vertically to have it reflect up into their head. But that's just a feeling I have, and we'll get back to this later. The secondary trait of the Sharpshooter revolver is that the spin shot can also destroy enemy projectiles, which I thought every revolver did. I saw a trailer and thought, yeah, but doesn't every pistol do that? Then I found out it didn't, and I had an existential crisis. But anyways, destroying the projectiles causes a massive explosion that deals a lot of damage. Yes, for some enemies you could shoot the projectile during the charge up and achieve a similar effect, but with this new way it creates a much larger explosion, and it can be done against enemies where you can't shoot the projectile during the charge up, like the Cerberus throwing their orb, and probably my favorite thing about this weapon, countering the Mind Flayers' projectile attack. It not only damages the enemy, but it also blasts away all the other projectiles. That one room in P-2 is going to be so much less frustrating. You know the one I'm talking about. Now it's time to dive deeper into this thing and do some experiments. We gonna get all scientific in this bitch. The first thing I wanted to test is embarrassingly obvious, but do bounce shots deal more damage than the initial charge? In other news, the sun is very hot. Do consecutive bounce shots deal more damage? Yes. Does the spin shot do more damage when bounced off of a coin? No, but that's probably because I'm using the initial shot. The bounce shot is basically the piercer's charge, so do bounce shots off of a coin deal more damage? Absolutely. Do the spun-up coin shots still bounce? Yes, and it carries over how much bounces it would have done depending on how much you charged it. Now, back to that homing thing. Does this thing really home in on the enemy's weak point? Yes, but not as much as the coin does. Where the coin will always find you no matter where you are if you're in its line of sight, the bounce shot is just more forgiving and homes in on their weak point if you're gonna hit them and it has line of sight. But if you are already gonna miss, it won't help you there. If you're above an enemy and do the spinny shot, does it hit them twice? Yup, and potentially even more if you're at a perfect angle. So if it hit the ceiling, it'd hit them even more. Can bounce shots destroy projectiles? Yes, but I don't know if it deals even more damage than if you did it regularly. Does it deal that big-ass explosion when you destroy your own projectiles? Don't look like it. Here's a trick that I kinda thought of. Now that you have a third revolver, if you had all three of them as slabs, you can kinda quick switch to override their firing speed penalties. But of course, after that one roll, you will have to go through the hammer cocking animation. But if you want a quick burst of some big revolver shots, go for it, I guess. Now to find a good testing ground to add the obligatory montage to the end of the video. But where would that be? Ah, I know. I will confess, I did release a guide for the game, meaning that I have to be really good at the game to be qualified to make this, but I haven't even P-ranked P-2. Yes, you can still be a decent player despite that, but you're not really an ultra-skilled gamer until you do so. So now, with the Sharpshooter revolver in my hand, I will P-rank Syphilis Prime.
However, the blood of Minos stains your hands, and I must admit, I'm curious about your skills, weapon. And so, before I tear down the cities and crush the armies of heaven, you shall do as an appetizer. Come forth, child of man, and die. So concludes the life and times of King Sisyphus.
Wait, did I say P rank? Hold on. There we go.